excited?
Oh, I'm so excited.
I love that.
I am excited to share the good word. Hey.
Hi.
How's it going?
Hey.
Fabuloso.
Welcome to Lobbying 101. Many of you know that this was not on the docket, but this is something that I've added in the last couple hours just because of changes in the schedule. One thing you will need for me is if you have this wonderful thing in the back, there's the note section. There's for a breakout. You are going to write something in there. So just be aware and ready for that. I might have some pens if you don't have them. Maybe. Who needs one? Hey.
Hi.
What's good?
Everything.
Anyone else need a pen? Wow, bringing me right back to the classroom.
You're recorded already.
Bringing pencils. Bringing pens.
Oh, yes.
Anyone else need something? You can just hold on to these official Students United pens too.
Yes,
Here's
please
that.
take them.
Do you have something to write with? Okay. You think so? I have a highlighter, and that might be it actually. I have one more pen. Who needs the pen? Yeah. Okay. Hello, my name is Casey Metcalfe. I am the manager of government relations at Students United. I am also coming to you straight from the classroom. I taught middle school for 10 years. That is why, that's the vibe. Now you get it. It makes sense now, doesn't it?
Yes.
Yes. I'm here to talk to you specifically about the language of advocacy, how we frame our thoughts for people that we're meeting with at any lever, at any system of power. This is not meant only, the word lobbying, when you hear that word, you're going to think the capital steps, right? That is part of it for sure, but it's also every conversation you have along the way, throughout your advocacy campaign, throughout the thing that you're trying to do. I encourage you right now to think about if you were to change one thing, or if there's something that you care about, either at your school, or it could be something that we work on at a federal or a state level, what would that thing be? Because that is going to help you better understand your why you're here in the first place. You know, who are you as an individual and why you're here? That is the most important information that we relate to legislators when we meet them, and it's the most important information that we relate to our peers when we're talking to them. If I am trying to build my movement, I have to talk to my peers, do I not? Yeah? If I don't talk to my peers, then nobody knows about my movement. Nobody knows what I'm doing. And that's what we do with lobbying and advocacy. We build power by talking to as many people as we can. So I want you to just hook up with somebody near you. Join with somebody near you. And I want you to share about one advertisement that you've seen or a campaign. If you want to get political with it, you can. But I'm also saying advertisement that is memorable and effective. Something that makes you remember the product and also makes you want to buy the product. Thumbs up if that makes sense. Oh no, some people aren't doing thumbs up, so I have no data to go forward. Thumbs up? Yes? Okay. 1 to 2 people. You have about a minute. Go.
All I think about is McDonald's.
I'm thinking like political candidates, and describe these candidates.
That has been memorable.
Ad that I always come back to. I saw this like so many years ago. It was an ad for Walmart, and it was a kid's birthday party, and the dad wanted to dress up as a clown for the birthday party, and so he and someone that lived in the toy unicorn, and then like jumps off the stairs and lands on the toy unicorn.
Describe what
And it goes right through his head, and he starts screaming, and there's the kids, and they're also screaming because now there's a clown and it's screaming. It was from Walmart, and it stuck with me for like almost a decade now. There was a screaming clown, and it was funny.
You know, absolutely.
There was also a unicorn, and I think there was cake.
5,
Oh, yeah.
4, 1, 0. Okay, now I want you to switch your conversation, not to what it was, but I want you to, it says one word, you can use more than one word, but I don't want you to talk at length about it. Why do you think that campaign was impactful? What about that campaign made it impactful? Was it that it connected to something you already knew about? Was it that it was relevant to you? Was it the colors? Was it the images? What about this advertisement made it effective? I'm going to give you like 30 seconds to share that out. Few words as possible. Go.
Verbiage. I already knew that. I already said verbiage. Just kind of the setting. It felt warm. Yeah. I usually tell people.
What's the word?
So that's the main one.
Well, with my commercial, it pulls from, like, it's something rooted in culture where kids are afraid of clowns. Yes. There was a unicorn, I like unicorns. There was a screaming clown. And also, it felt like one of those things where it's like, because it was for Walmart, I think something happened to the cake and like a bunch of stuff went wrong. And so it's like, okay, you're going to make a Walmart run because of the clown that is now screaming. And I'm just like, okay.
These are reasons why we run to Walmart.
How do I create?
1.
The birthday was ruined. So, I mean, I go Walmart.
Someone give us an example of an advertisement that we might know, something that we can't, that you couldn't let go of. And a good example of an advertisement. Any example? Huh?
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. I'm
Yep.
loving it.
Okay. Memorable song, right? Very easy to come back to. Anything else?
Intentional verbiage in the song.
Intentional verbs. So we're going to choose our words very carefully. Yes.
Yes.
We're not. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba, I enjoy it. Okay, that's not as good. Let's change the word. We have to think about our exact wording. Okay. What else? 2 advertisements. I heard a lot of you talking.
I heard someone say the State Farm one, like a good neighbor. State Farm is there.
Yep.
Incentivizing good relationships. Like a good neighbor.
Yep.
State Farm is there.
Yep. Oh, that's a great example. So we would say like the brand for State Farm, right?
Yeah.
It's about you getting insurance, yes? Is it also kind of about like being a good neighbor? They say, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there, right? They're kind of bringing you in right away to being like, we're not just here for like to provide a service to you, we're also like your neighbor. Mm-hmm. They're bringing you into the fold, man. They're saying, don't worry about us, we're cool. State Farm is cool, man.
We're here when you need us. Yeah.
Other examples. One more.
I know.
Doesn't have to be just like a logo or something like that, but an advertisement too would be. Yeah.
I saw a billboard when I was a child that said you only die once, Yodo on a gravestone for a funeral home.
And that's memorable. That sure is
It
memorable.
was really funny.
Mm-hmm. There's like a lot of those like billboard ones that are like very. They can say a lot without saying very much at all. Is advertising the same as political messaging and advocating for something to a legislator? I'm going to argue yes. It is the same game. It is all about what you say, how you say it, and making sure that you're coming back to the central idea, which for a company is your what? What are you trying to come back to over and over again?
The brand. Or
The
the mission.
brand,
The mission.
the motto, the mission, the logo, back to that central idea, yes? This is the same game. I start with this because it's a really easy way to think about how you're going to advertise you, not just what you're talking to somebody about, but yourself. Because let's be real, folks, you can't take yourself out of the process of lobbying. It will always be you standing in front. So you kind of always have to make it your own. So 2 things that we're going to talk about today. Making it your own, making your pitch about what you want to do your own, but also making it come back to the central ideas you're trying to tell. So we're going to talk about an example right away. This is something that Students United is currently talking to federal partners about. I had a meeting with Amy Klobuchar's office on Friday about her bill, which is the Stop Campus Hazing Act. And this has been worked on for the last, I want to say 16 years. In 2008, two of these parents, their son died in 2008 after a hazing incident at a college. If you are not familiar, can someone describe what hazing is? If we said there was a hazing incident at Winona State University, what are we saying?
Making those who are coming into an organization do dehumanizing acts or criminal acts to gain rapport and credibility and access to club or like whatever.
Yeah, it's something usually either criminal or it can also be just dehumanizing that get you into a club. We talk about this a lot with fraternities, like, oh, you're gonna have to, you have to go into the woods and you have to spend all night out in the woods, and you have to sing, or you have to sing this song in loudly, like, you know, like they can be kind of harmless like that, but then it can also move into some things that are like physical violence.
Or forced to cross-dress and then perform inhumane acts.
Right.
I've seen that.
Just generally not nice things that people would not do otherwise if they weren't trying to get into this club. If these things happen in high school too, but there's a particular problem in college because they have, in a lot of cases, been so intense that they're fatal. Since 2008, these parents have been working on the Stop Campus Hazing Act. I'm going to briefly introduce you to it as our example today of an issue that I'm going to kind of frame our ideas through.
For one group of parents, it's been their mission to stop hazing on college campuses. Taking that fight to Capitol Hill, the House recently passing the Stop Campus Hazing Act. It would require colleges and universities to disclose hazing incidents and create prevention programs.
And here to discuss are three parents who lost their sons to hazing: Stephen Gruber, Evelyn Piazza, and Kathleen Wyatt. We thank you so much for being with us. We know it never gets easy, but we appreciate you on this show. Stephen, we'll start with you. It's been 7 years since your son, Max, died in a hazing incident back in 2017, and now your reaction to this bill moving one step closer to being passed.
Yeah, it's greeted with a lot of excitement. You know, our sons didn't need to die, and the hazing just needs to end. And Max had a lot of choices when it came to the different fraternities that he was looking at, and he knew the bad actors on campus, and he knew not to join those guys because they were just bad guys. We had no idea that the Phi Delta Thetas were part of that group, and this bill gets that information out to their hands, and so we can make educated decisions about the organizations that we join, and we know, who the bad actors are.
Evelyn, your son Timothy died after a hazing in 2017. Today would have been his 27th birthday.
Yeah.
When you think about what's going on and what you're doing, and you think about 27, he would have been 27 today, what goes through your mind?
I mean, he would have been engaged or married by now. He would have been doing his dream job of making prosthetics, and all of that got taken away at 19, and it was just so unnecessary. They never even got the chance to know him and appreciate him, and they didn't value his life, and that's what makes it so sad that we need to continue this work without our kids, because people just didn't value them, and we need to save other parents from doing this or going through this.
And Kathleen, your son Colin died in 2018. An Ohio law named in his honor made hazing a second-degree misdemeanor. What's your message to federal lawmakers? What do you want them to do?
Yeah, but this is necessary. This will save lives. Part of Colin's law is the reporting mechanism that will now be mandated across the country. So when a student goes to join an organization, they and their parents can look up that organization and know any violations with the Student Code of Conduct, any hazing violations. If we had that information when Colin was going to pledge Sigma Pi fraternity at Ohio University, we would have seen that they had a long history of hazing going on that campus at that.
Don't stop there. This is an example of people telling a story very close to them, yes? Mm-hmm. This is a personal connection, yes? Are they trying to be somebody else? Nope, they're speaking from personal experience. That's important. They are talking about what brings them together. They have 3 people together. They're talking about what brings them together, a tragic incident. And they're speaking to specifically what they want to do. This is the key to good advocacy and good lobbying. There are 3 key questions that need to frame everything that you are trying to do if you are trying to get something done. If you are working on something and you cannot answer these 3 questions clearly, if you cannot answer these 3 questions, you need to go back to the drawing board and think about what you're doing with your campaign. First question, who are you? Who are you bringing? Why are you here? What brings you to this moment? Example being, who are you? I'm a parent of somebody who lost someone. Or I'm the parent of somebody who was killed in a hazing incident. I am a change maker here to make change. I am here to change the conversation. I'm here to... What brings you to this particular moment is incredibly important. And it has to come back to you personally. It can't be, I'm here because I've heard that hazing is pretty bad. It's like, okay, so? I'm here because my friend brought me along and she said that there was free lunch at this thing. That's not effective. What brings you to this particular moment? Number 2, who are we? It's not just you, because if it's just you, quite frankly, no one cares. If it was just me, no one will care. Hi, I'm Casey. Okay, bye. Don't care. We. What do you represent when you come to the table? When you go to the Capitol, who do you represent? Who stands behind you and who stands with you? The first sentence that I will say every time that I meet somebody in my 4 months here in the job is I say, hi, my name is Casey Metcalfe. I represent the 55,000 Minnesota State students of Min State. How are you? I'm already right away saying who I represent. I'm not saying, I'm Casey and I'm here to chat. You know, I stand in for the people. And if you come to the Capitol and you lobby, or you go and testify, you stand in for the 55,000 students of Minnesota State. You have to be aware of that. Because number 1, it gives you confidence that you're to speak from, but it also tells the person you're talking to that you're not just speaking for yourself. And then finally, why now? Why is it important to do something right now and not wait around? You might meet with somebody and they say, oh my gosh, that's a great idea, end campus hazing. I agree. What if we did it next session though? Because blah, 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 blah. Here's all the reasons why we shouldn't do it right now. You still, in your campaign and your thinking, need to be saying, here's what we need to do and here's why we need to do it now. Why is this moment particularly good? This moment is particularly good because this bill has bipartisan support. This bill is particularly important to pass right now because it will set up these restrictions for next school year. We need this done by next school year because every year, 10 students are injured in hazing incidents in the state of Minnesota. This is where you bring the moment to them. So here's who I am, here's who I represent, and here's why this needs to get done right now. That needs to be your pitch. Does this only apply to politics, by the way?
No.
Can I use this to lobby my parents?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You bet I can. When I taught this as a middle school teacher, this is like a change lesson. When I taught it how to win an argument with your parents. Because it is setting up the context of what you're trying to, you're pushing the conversation already, even when you're framing it. You're like, Mom, hello, Mom, I am your daughter. It is good to meet you today. I am just one of many students who is struggling with having enough money. I work a 15-hour job, Mom, and I'm a college student. That's a lot going on during the day. And I'm only one. I'm not the only one facing this problem, Mom. I also know that my friend Brittany stands with me because she is also dealing with the same problem. I'm not alone. And I need that, so I need your money right now because I have rent due in 3 days. Will you give me the money, Mom? Do you see how it still follows this general pattern? You can use this very open. It's open tutor. So I'm now going to kind of go through and dig a little bit into these 3 buckets, and then we're going to do an example. So, who are you? You need to have a good idea of who you are before you walk into something, because you kind of need to know how you're perceived, frankly. I, in my personal life, am not the same person I am in my professional life. I would say I'm a lot louder in my personal life. I would say that I'm a lot more off the cuff. I have learned in my professional life to have a plan, and so I always follow that plan. But one of the things that, and hopefully you're getting it from me, part of the things that I really like is I like talking to people. I like conversing with individuals. I like getting to know people individually and hearing about their stories. That's really valuable to me, and it's what made me a good teacher, quite frankly. I can connect with people individually. I know that about myself, and I bring it to my work. In the same way, not to get too into this particular wormhole about it, but identity. There are certain people who will view me based on my presentation in a certain way, positive or negative. I need to be aware of what that is, especially when I go to the Capitol. I need to be able to put myself in other people's shoes and have an understanding of how I'm perceived. When you're thinking about who you are, don't say what you are. For example, and this is part of it. I'm a college student. Yes, for sure you are, and that's who you represent, right? But it can be broader than that. You're someone who's trying to make change. Think of yourself in that way. Think of yourself as a change maker, as somebody who's doing something different. And you have to be yourself. Don't be anyone else. The moment you pretend to be somebody else, people can smell it. One of the reasons that I know this is because kids, when you're a kid and you're a teacher, kids eat you for lunch if they know you're not being authentic. Teachers who come into a classroom and are not coming from an authentic place when they're speaking to you, can you tell it right away? You can tell it right away. And so you need to be able to have people trust you, and they trust you when you're being yourself. They might not like it, but they trust that you're being yourself, and that's important. So I'm going to come back to that. That's a little out of order. So how do you craft a brand? This is how we're talking about it in terms of starting your campaign. Well, what am I? I'm a college student, right? Why am I here? I'm trying to increase opportunity. Who am I? I'm a change maker. This is the who, that's the what. This is the thing that is going to change people's minds. This inspires people. I'm here to do something, and I'm going to get it done. This is your 1 in a million, everybody knows somebody who's a college student. Sometimes there's a time for that. But you also have to be able to step into your power and say, I'm doing something different. Here's what I have to say. So, telling personal stories, when you're telling your story to somebody and you're starting with the who am I, you want to quickly explain who you are and you want to humanize yourself. Here's a great one for me that works every time, and it's worked so well. And I've only been doing this job for 4 months, but hi, my name is Casey Metcalfe. I taught in Minneapolis Public Schools for 10 years. I'm now moving into a new role as the Government Relations Manager for Students United. The moment that you hear that I'm a teacher, what do you think about me? What assumptions do you make about me based on the fact that I taught in Minneapolis Public Schools for a decade?
You like to talk.
Huh?
You have patience.
I'm a patient person. What else?
You like to talk.
I can talk to you. I'm jovial. I also taught middle school, so that's another thing.
You stand for something?
Huh?
You stand for something?
Yep. Teachers tend to have they're viewed positively by a lot of people for being people who are selfless, people who believe in service and do a hard job. Even though it's hard, they keep showing up because somebody's got to do it. I had a principal say to me, Casey, if you're thinking of leaving, you got to let me know, because tomorrow the kids are getting off the bus whether you're here or not. And that is what drives all teachers. Did I just humanize myself very briefly by just saying I'm a teacher? Mm-hmm. Yep, everybody knows I'm a real human being. Your personal story should be weaved into your message. I do this all the time. I came originally from Wisconsin. I am originally from Eau Claire, Wisconsin. Politics started to change when I was like in college for teachers, depending on the state you were in. And I'm very close to Minnesota, so I made the choice to come to Minnesota. Depending on who you're talking to, that can be a very powerful message about yourself. And again, it can be tailored to various lengths. I have a 10-minute version of the story I just told you, but mine only takes like 10 seconds. Your personal story is different than the message you're telling. The message you're telling can be boiled down to one sentence. My name is Casey Metcalfe. I am a former teacher, and I'm here to talk to you about why campus hazing is a scourge on campuses across the United States and needs to be federally dealt with. Okay? Who I am, what I'm here to do. And then keep it values-based. This is another thing. It is not within the values of the United States, nor are colleges and universities, for campus hazing to be such a problem. It does not. We must take quick action as universities and student bodies to make sure that we keep people safe on our campuses. That's a values-based statement. It's about what you care about. It's not, we need to get this, we need to pass this because it would save money. Because it's going to matter to people that it saves money. But is that something that you start with in your personal story? Probably not. Talk about values. I have a lot of here. I might skip it. I want to get you here. So, here's the part where I'm going to have you think about what this could either be for you. Like, if you're going to run a campaign, and if you want to do it to your mom, you can just write to your mom. I don't care. The point is that we are thinking about how we're going to frame what we want to get in a specific way so that it can be tailored to an audience. The framework, the thing we're doing, and you can look this up if you're ever like, what was that thing called again? It's called the story of self, us, and now. The story of self, us, and now is how we frame our thinking for people. It is the basis for community organizing, political campaigns, fundraising, and quite frankly, advertising. It includes, so have you noticed that this is the same thing that we were just talking about? Who are you? Who are we? And why is this the right time? These types of pitches, there's a couple little things that I'm going to have you think about when you're writing in a second. Number one, include the mustard and relish details. Has anybody ever heard of the mustard and relish story? Okay. In 2008, I don't know exactly where this was. I want to say it was like in Philadelphia. When I was 18 years old and Barack Obama was running for the presidency, there was a story of a little girl who talked about her mom and her mom getting cancer and getting sick. And she talked about how because her mom was so sick, they didn't have a lot of food growing up, and because all the money went to her mom's cancer treatments. And she told Barack Obama about how every day for lunch, instead of eating what her friends were eating, she ate a mustard and relish sandwich for lunch. Why did she do that? Why is she eating a mustard and relish sandwich for lunch?
It's what was available.
It's what's available. At her house for food, what did she have? She had bread, and she had mustard, relish, and ketchup maybe, but not a lot of other stuff, right? So that's why she's eating that. That is a very memorable image. A mustard and relish, someone eating a mustard and relish sandwich because they didn't have enough money for their food because their mom is going through cancer treatment. What a story, yes? What makes it memorable? Is there a specific detail that makes it memorable? So it gets at an idea, right? It gets at something that we're trying to change. Things that make poetry good, like coming out of my shell, everybody. I'm a big Swiftie. The thing that songwriters do that's really good is they have sensory details. details that are memorable. And it's really hard to forget the spiciness of a mustard and relish sandwich. You can, if you're hearing that story, you're remembering, oh my God, she ate mustard and relish. You can almost, when you think about it, you kind of get like, I kind of salivate a little. Because it's not meant to be eaten like that, but it's kind of spicy. It makes your mouth water a little bit. Those are the types of details that people remember. And Barack Obama remembered this detail, did he not? Enough to put it in a book. So we want details in your stories that are going to stick with audience like a mustard and relish sandwich. I want you to state your motivation for showing up. A good way to think about this is tell the story of when you knew in your heart that something was true. I worked in Minneapolis Public Schools for a long time, and I worked in very different buildings. And there's a very specific moment where I was in one of these schools where I knew for sure that we did not have enough at our disposal to take care of the students that were in our school. I can tell that story, and that will be powerful because it's the moment, it's emotionally intense for me, and I can make it emotionally intense for you. I can share that moment. And then, and here's the trickiest part of all. Mirza, get that pencil going. You need 3 touch points to genuinely listen and look for opportunities. So these are the 3 touch points. Whenever somebody asks you about it, you're going to go back to me, us, or now. Oh, yeah, you want to stop campus hazing? You know, that sounds nice, but it's actually not a very good use of resources. And we don't want to do it. I hear what you're saying. There are 55,000 Minnesota students who have approved this board motion that are supported by what we're doing, bringing it back to us. If the story of self is better, you can do that too. You can say, that's when you give more detail about your personal experience with it. Or you can say, I can appreciate that this will put the university system in a different spot. However, the time is now. We need to do it now. Me, us, now. Every time that somebody comes back at you with another thing during the conversation, if in the back of your head you have me, us, now, you can pretty much come up with something to say next. And that's always the thing that people struggle with advocacy. It's not the saying the thing the first time. It's the, okay, but what if they don't like it? What if they're like, I don't want to do that? Well, okay, this gives us kind of a good place to go. Me, us, now. Which one do you pick? It depends, but at least gives you like an idea of where to go. Oh my gosh, I haven't had the teacher coughs in a while. Questions so far? I promise I'm going to get you moving and writing and talking in a second. Does this make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay. So, practice, yeah, go for it.
Could you combine 2 of the 3?
Oh, for sure.
1 point.
For sure. It's just that I think that, for me at least, as a socially anxious person who now has a lobbying job, you're like, oh my God, what do I say now? You know that thing when someone is talking and you're in your brain, you're like, what are you going to say? 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 That helps with that because it's just like, me, us, now. Pick one. Well, does this person really want to hear about me more? Not really. Does this person want to hear about the movement? Do they want to hear about other examples? Or do they want to hear about this particular moment in time where I can kind of build some context for them about why I'm supporting this? It just gives you a place to go with it. But this is when you think about politicians and how they always have an answer next, right? A lot of them have me, us, now in the back of their head. They just are thinking about which one is going to make the most sense rhetorically. Practice makes perfect. While you're, when you come up to me, when you all come to lobby day, when you're there with me, you have to get all of that detail that we just talked about in about a 10-minute pitch. Maybe less. Hey, Senator Feist, we want to meet with you. Okay, that's great. I'd love to talk to some students. I only have about 5 minutes. Can we take it in the hallway? Very common. Very common. You have to be willing and ready to make that pitch quickly and it can't be a 45-minute conversation. You got to get it done. So make sure that you're answering the questions. What's the problem you're trying to fix? Is this a problem your audience needs solved? Always be aware of who your audience is. What is your solution? Make sure that your problem has those juicy details. If you're talking about food insecurity, you have a kind of a rich something you can pull from stories from people who face food insecurity to provide the details that make people care. And then remove other details that meander. You're not here to chit-chat. You're here to look as though you're coming up off the top of your head what you're saying, but actually it has been prepared for years. And then it should be relatively to the point. You only have 10 minutes. And sometimes it might be 2, and sometimes it might be 15, but it's never going to be 45. So, here's what I'm going to have you do for like 10-ish minutes. It is going to, this could take, I'm not asking for a narrative here, I'm asking for an outline, okay? I want you to write your own story of self, us, and story for now, either for campus hazing as the example, or another issue close to you. It could be something that's happening on your campus. It could also be the example that I gave about, Mom, can I have $100? It just has to be you're trying to persuade someone to do something. Does that make sense? Thumbs up, please. Thank you. Okay. And it should take about 1 to 2 minutes. It's probably going to be about this long on your paper. Make sure you're including references to a detail that somebody can remember very easily. And make sure that I'm going to say that your audience for this is a legislator. You're trying to get them to adopt. You want them to come to your side and talk to you about solutions. Is that good? Making sense? I'm going to give you 9 minutes to do that. Not even 10, 9. You can work with somebody if you would like and make one together, or you can do it independently. But there should be some sort of talking in here. Don't be weird. Just work together and chat.
I was thinking about institutions for mental health.
That's what I was thinking too.
Me and my institutions for mental health, I'm so obsessed with it. I don't know what to do with myself.
Oh. Access to mental health services.
Who am I?
I'm saying for our federal agenda, if you want to just get stuff going on that, because that's kind of so the university is not on this state agreement to groups that get to me it seems like there's some
Wow. Let's just freaking a whole letter on that word.
I'm writing that down.
it's the DHS standing order portal. We just need to get them out. There's also some legislation that is going to specifically protect businesses from liability. That's the thing that the lawyer probably cares a lot about.
I'm just doing kind of like bullet points for services and jails. Funding why now? To requirements the community. So part of the issue is running the fact that historically
Who are we?
yeah, like British funding. But also specify that their appropriation dollars have to go towards more effective, and then a certain chunk of expenditures have to go
And lower risk
because like your institution permit investing, you know, like say 40%, then your expenditures should go towards construction.
that doesn't prevent
A re-entry program, and you know what a re-entry program is, right?
like Damascus.
Kinda, yeah. Damascus, I would not use as an example because they are bullshit.
Okay, well that's
Anyways.
what it is. Unfortunately, let's advocate against that.
They're bullshit.
Anyways, well,
Be
that's
honest
what I have
about-
a viewpoint on.
Yeah. And I know that I feel that way about them. But I
6 minutes.
I think it would be more to prevent recidivism.
Does not have to be narrative, just an outline.
provide more re-entry programs, which reduces recidivism.
Are we? We've been personally impacted. Mic drop.
Did you all have to read The Great Gatsby?
Yes.
Who has read The Great Gatsby?
Cannot recall.
What? Who's done, by the way? Who's still working? Okay, keep working as I give this example. What's the symbol, the most famous symbol from that book?
Green.
Say it again.
Green.
Green, the color. It's the first thing of the book. You open the book and it's Gatsby looking across the water at the green light across the river. Is that a mustard and relish detail? It becomes the whole metaphor for the whole book. A small detail that happens on the first page of this book becomes the rest of the book. That's a good example of a mustard and relish detail from something that is maybe okay. What's another good example? I'm trying to think of music that's like particularly like there's a detail. Oh well, here's a really good example if you're like me. There's a symbol from a Taylor Swift song that gets put on everything a couple years ago when Red came out. What is it? Something that was left in a closet, or something that was left in a. People started putting Red's scarf. you might have seen red scarves everywhere because there's a lyric from a song about the red scarf. And the red scarf becomes the detail that everyone remembers because Jake Gyllenhaal has the red scarf. You know what I'm talking about?
No, not really.
Oh, okay.
What was it about Prince that turned into
Purple.
Purple. I'm trying to think of like another really good example of a detail that is really memorable. Does anyone like Sabrina Carpenter?
I don't know who
Okay, like, okay, so the boys do. What's Sabrina Carpenter's color? What's the color that is her whole brand?
I have no idea.
Light blue. It's the color of your suit. If you go, she's for like months, all she wore was light blue. And it was a big part of her like brand awareness thing. The pop girlies will teach you a lot about campaigning if you pay close attention. Yeah. Use what? Yeah, in advertising, it's like a brand. Yes, he really sets the brand. His color becomes the brand. Like that's why if ever you see something from Students United, the color is that light blue color because we're trying to make like automatically set up in people's brains like you're talking about a Students United issue. It's light blue. Like there's a lot of little things that happen. All right. I'm going to check in on you. 3, 2. So, how I want you to think right now, Mirza, how is your pitch going to change based on who you are talking to? Because the pitch should change based on these two. In scenario 1, you're running into a teacher or an educator at a basketball game, and he wants to know what you're up to. He hasn't seen you in a while, and he's vaguely curious, but he also has a really good network of people to talk to. The second one is the kind of the one I set you up with, which is you're meeting a legislator who's a businessman. He's interested in reducing government spending, and you need to convince him that this is a real problem. How are these two going to be different? Start with length. What do you think the length of these two conversations is going to be, and how are they different? Are they going to be different? What do you think? Which one's longer, the conversation with somebody at a basketball game or the meeting with the legislator?
Scenario 1 is longer.
Yeah.
Scenario 1 is going to be longer, and in fact, it could be as much as an hour. It could be as much as you want, especially because you're trying to convince this person that you kind of already have a relationship with.
Yeah.
A long conversation makes sense.
And he wants to know what you're up to.
And he wants to know what you're up to. He cares about you. So you can give him those details that he'll care about. The second one, you have 10 minutes. Hi, my name is Casey Metcalfe. I represent the 55,000 students of Minnesota State. I'm here to talk to you today about SNAP access. I'm already into it, right? You don't have time. What other differences besides time?
One of them is very direct on what their interest is, and the other is interested in what you're interested in.
Mm-hmm. This has a very clear idea about where we're going. This one does not. Any changes in the way that you would speak between these two? What is the difference? Yeah.
Like number 2, I would use more professional language.
Yep.
And 1 is just casually be yourself. I mean, number 2, you got to be yourself too, but like, I don't know.
Yeah, you have to think about who you're talking to. I wish I used to have a marker in my pocket or in my backpack, but I would write here right now. Scenario 1, more informative, more informal. This one, more formal. And also, think about this type of person. Based on this, is this person a Democrat or a Republican, likely? If they are a businessman by trade and they want to really reduce government spending, that's a Republican. So we need to be talking in the language that this person cares about. If I'm talking to this person, I say, it's key that students feel safe at school. Students need to feel safe because they're there to learn, to build their skills, and to make their make the biggest step of their lives. We need to keep kids safe. The teacher says what? Hell yeah, that makes sense to me. Scenario 2, meeting a Republican legislator. Here's how I would switch it. Universities receive a lot of federal money. Universities receive a lot of state money. If they are not meeting the goal, if they're not able to keep their universities under control, we need to we need to find a way to hold universities accountable for a failure here. And in this case, the Stop Campus Hazing Act makes it so they have to report that failure to the federal government. This is an accountability measure. This is, yes, about keeping students safe, but it's also about making sure that systems run effectively. Do you see the difference between those two pitches? It's it's saying the same thing, is it not? Kinda, but it's pitching it very differently.
It's like night and day.
Well, and like, you kind of have to do that. It's like, have you ever heard the term code switching before?
Yeah.
Did you see my code switch just there? I am able to talk to you individually. I find out you're a teacher. Yeah, man. Like, think about I would say something like, think about all the times that we were in the classroom and kids were unsafe. As K-12 teachers, we got in there, we did something about it. We have to do something about this. That's going to make a teacher want to join. But that's not going to necessarily jive here. They're going to be like, okay, that sounds like bleeding heart, like, oh, that's sad. You know, some people just don't respond to those kind of emotional pleas. You have to put it in brass tacks. Speak to the issue. And the word language generally, when we're doing this, here I could talk about safety as my main idea, yes? What would you say the main theme of this pitch was? It wasn't safety. Numbers, spending, accountability. What if there's a two-party system, Republicans care about numbers, government spending, accountability. Okay? Pitch to your audience. Don't walk into a meeting with Donald Trump and then talk about something bad that happened to you. That's not gonna work. Consider your audience. We've talked about that. Any other noticings about how these two conversations would be different based on the scenario? Here's something that you'd need to do after both of these conversations as somebody who organizes. So you had these conversations, they went fine, you feel good about them. You walk away. What now? Follow up. If you do not follow up, poof! Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if you don't follow up. I would say follow up that same day, an hour later, to make sure that is in their mailbox. Because you need to now hold them accountable to what they said the first time. Mm-hmm. You said you support it? Great. I can't wait to see you at this. Here's an opportunity to put it in committee, get the bill done. You know, give them those opportunities to show up for you. Because if you don't give them those opportunities and you're not like super direct with them about that opportunity, they're not going to do it. They don't care. They got a lot going on. Last thing I'll say here. Do we live in very polarized times? Is it hard to have political conversations? Yeah. It's harder. I will say it is getting harder every day. It's harder than it was when I was your age, and it was like 2009, and it was McCain-Obama, It's different. It's different. The one thing that I would say to you if you're trying to have a tough conversation with somebody about politics, bring it back to me, us, now. If somebody has, something that if they're speaking from their me, us, now, and you're both doing that at the same time, that is how we build consensus, because we're sharing our perspectives and we're listening to each other. Imagine that. We're actually listening to what each other is saying. We're not just thinking about what we're going to say next that is to disprove them. Recognize when someone else is speaking from their me, us, now. If somebody's speaking on the opposite side of the issue, but you know that they're speaking from authenticity, listen to them. It's not about beating them. Even as a lobbyist, it's not about me beating them either. It's about having the conversation. It's about having the conversation and looking for opportunities to build bridges. Look for opportunities to work together, ignore the rest. Look for opportunities to work together, ignore the rest. I work on your behalf. I work on behalf of the students of Minnesota State. I also work with Minnesota State, right? I go to meetings with the universities. 95% of the time, we are fighting for the same thing. 5% of the time, I'm asking them for something that the students want that the university system doesn't. I just don't, I'm not, when we're talking about the 95%, I'm not going to bring up the 5%, you know? Focus on what you can do together. Engage with authenticity, express values, not policy. This is not a debate. This is not a debate. I had a principle, if I could tell you one thing if you're trying to do things in your life that make a change, hear me when I say, there is no, people can't hear you from the high road. If you're trying to take the high road on an issue and you are like so sure that you are, I'm 100% sure that I'm right on this issue, if you're not willing to listen, people won't hear you because you're up on the high road. You have to be able to come to people's level and listen. And that's how we actually do things. If everybody spoke authentically about these things, we wouldn't have so many problems. But there's so little trust that we never do this. But it's something that we can do. We just have to get into practice. So, in summary, that's the tool. Use it how you will. It is a good way to start thinking about how to do something. But it's just that. It's a tool. I leave it vague and open because hopefully what are you going to do with this? Figure out what you're going to do. What do you want to do? What do you want to change? And it gives you a tool for writing that stuff. Questions, concerns, queries, comments. It is exactly 2. Mirza. I'm not.
You are a teacher.
Yeah, I'm picking up Mirza. If you have any questions or ideas or thoughts about legislative work this year, come talk to me. Lobby day, come talk to me. Testifying, come talk to me. I will share with you, and if you find a board member, they will share you a little bit of information about what we're looking at the Capitol this year. Make sense? Goodbye. Have a good day.
Thanks for coming.